Anthony, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mario. Thank you. It's great to see you again, and thanks for having me on.
Pleasure's mine, man. I really enjoyed our last conversation, so I'm glad you're able to come again. Um, now, we might only be able to do 20 minutes, by the way. I know you jumped in last minute, so I'd love to do this now and maybe continue it later today if you're free or tomorrow. But give me your thoughts on the shooting. There is a lot of topics to cover. Number one is whether you think there was a security failure. If so, where, what, why, after all these assassination attempts in times of war? There's a lot of questions that I have. Why was there two events at the venue? Why was someone able to uh, go to the hotel, stay there a day in advance with weapons with them, and then be able to go in there and camp there and wait for the right time to try to storm in? And I've got more questions after that, but let's start with that. What do you think?
So, the first concern that jumped out to me was the failed security. Now, it's not a question as to whether or not there was a security failure. It's a question as to whether or not it was simply uh, slipped up on purpose as a way to allow this to happen in a limited sense. And the reason I think that is because the Washington Hilton, where the White House Correspondents Association dinner is held, has been held in the exact same hotel, in the exact same ballroom for over 50 years. And in this exact same hotel is where Ronald Reagan was shot exiting the hotel in
Oh,
1980.
wow.
That's why this hotel is called the Hickney Hilton, because John Hickney is the individual that shot Reagan. It's what then gave root to the Brady laws in the United States, but it was also what gave birth to the counter tactics team, or the CAT, the counter assault team, the individuals from the Secret Service that you saw on the stage with the black tactical gear, helmets, and assault rifles. That organization was born from this event that happened to Ronald Reagan at this hotel. This hotel has always been a very high value venue um, for protecting presidents, because all presidents prior to Donald Trump not attending the White House Correspondents' Dinner in his first term had attended this event, and it's always been in the same place. It's always been in the same ballroom, and it's always the last Saturday of April. Always. So the security plan for this was not something that had to be redeveloped, or something that was new, or something that was foreign to the Secret Service. There's a very robust security plan to this, not only to the exterior, but also to the interior and within the ballroom itself. So what I see from this is flat out a failure in security protocol. The question is, was that failure simply the incompetence, or simply a failure of ability, or was there something else behind this lapse in security? I find it very difficult to believe that the security in place would allow for individuals to be in the hotel in any rooms adjacent or near the ballroom during this actual event. And again, 50 years this event has been taking place in this hotel, and we know it's the last Saturday of every April. I can plan the next White House Correspondents Association dinner security for 10 years from now. I can plan it today. So when you look at the facts surrounding it, it raises a lot of questions for me in terms of the security situation, as well as the protocol and who was in presence. You had the president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary of the EPA. You had other members of the cabinet, but that's the entire line of succession of the presidency. We wouldn't even put all of those individuals in the same room for the State of the Union address. So why for this? It's very concerning.
In times of war as well.
In a time of war, when we are actively at war, where there are active threats to not only potentially the homeland, but members of the administration, it seems very careless and very reckless, and it leads me to believe that there's more to it. Because I don't find the Secret Service or the counter assault team of the Secret Service to be incompetent. There's more to this.
More like what? I know you
So,
don't know, but what could it be?
well, so this is necessarily what I would think in looking at it in terms of the facts surrounding the case. We know that this individual came from California, a teacher, not necessarily tactically trained. I think that his choice of weapons did not in any way, to me, demonstrate the intent or even the ability to assassinate or kill someone in a situation such as this with a shotgun and a pistol. That can be easily defeated. But then the fact that he was able to bring these weapons into the hotel, stay at the hotel, and then during the event, in staging these weapons, and some people would say that, oh well, he assembled the shotgun after he passed through security. It would take someone very trained to do that. That's not true. If it was a Remington 505 shotgun, that literally is two pieces that snap together with the push of a button. My 8-year-old son can do that. So it doesn't necessarily take a lot of skill for that. But then I look at the why behind it. My sense to this right now is that this individual, Mr. Cole Allen, is what I would describe as a Manchurian assassin. Much like in politics, the Manchurian candidate, I would see that he is the Manchurian assassin. Do I think that this was all staged, that he's a method actor? No, I don't. But what I do think is that he was potentially identified online, groomed through various sources within our own U.S. intelligence apparatus or a foreign intelligence apparatus, and provided the opportunity, the means to be able to conduct this with him not knowing that it wouldn't get him past the foyer. He didn't make it into the ballroom, but he believed it was real, knowing that he would be stopped in the foyer before there was an actual threat to the president. But then to give the perception that the president was actually threatened and in harm's way. When you look at the aftermath of the event, the president of the United States, within 28 minutes, because I timed it, was at the podium within the White House in the West Wing with John Bissett, the current or the Secretary of Treasury, with Kash Patel, his FBI director, with Mark Wayne Mullen, the new Department of Homeland Security Secretary, and who was also in attendance, by the way, and Todd Blanche, the new acting AG who replaced Pam Bondi. All of them on the stage, reading from a script, seemingly prepared for this press conference within 28 minutes after this event happened. That doesn't happen. That doesn't get thrown together at the last minute. There was no presidential press briefing on the docket or Saturday night for the White House. So that all had to have been set up and prepared. So when I look at the events preceding, during, and after, it all seems prepared. It seems scripted. It seems though there were those that knew that this would happen, and there were those that did not know. I think there were some in attendance that were genuinely frightened for their lives. But when you look at the reactions of some, it doesn't seem to me that there were some that truly thought that their life was in danger. And there were multiple shots fired. This was not a single shot.
That's my next question. That's my next question. Is like you see the guy. Lisa, you can play the footage you've just sent me. But if you see the guy, he'll just sprinting through, and apparently you see the officers pull their gun out. There's another better. There's one that's got this better. This one's very pixelated, but you can play this one. They draw their gun and they aim at him. And I think if you play the audio, they not sure if they take the shots, but the guy, the would-be assassin, shoots one of the officers that had a bulletproof vest. So one of the questions that people are asking is, how was he tackled instead of being shot someone that's armed at such an important event? So that was one of the questions that people are asking, because when we see him arrested on the ground, he doesn't seem injured. There's been no reports about him having any injuries. And I don't know, maybe you know that information of the sequence of events. When were those shots fired? Before he sprinted, after he sprinted? So this is the footage that everyone has seen on Trump's Truth Social account of the guy sprinting. What's his name again? Cole Allen, sprinting through the security checkpoint.
Excuse me, Cole Thomas Allen.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you make of do you know about the sequence of events? Did that information come out? And what do you make of those question marks on why isn't there any injuries? Why isn't Cole Allen shot?
Yeah, he was not shot. I think the very first reports that kind of hit mainstream media were that the alleged assassin or the would-be assassin was dead. That's what was originally coming out. And then now we know that not only was he not dead, not only was he not
wasn't even shot.
He wasn't even a shot or injured. And to me, that is bizarre, because the department, or excuse me, the U.S. Secret Service agents that are assigned to protect the mogul. That's Trump's Secret Service name is Mogul. The vice president's name is Bobcat. So when you have Bobcat and Mogul in the same venue at the same time, you're bringing your best. You're bringing your best package. You're bringing your best security. If you notice, there were U.S. Secret Service that were in plain clothes, that were armed with MP5s in their backpacks. But when you think about a venue to this nature in such a confined area with really a general exit entry at the same point, I'm sure there was emergency exits, but those are probably covered. Why was the main entrance exit left so exposed to where this individual could even get to that point? And why were the Secret Service agents that were protecting that main point of entry looking in and not out? At that point, everybody's in, the event's about to start. The most likely threat at that point is either in the ballroom, where these agents were not, or it would come from the outside towards the ballroom, because it's a known objective. So it almost seems like these U.S. Secret Service agents were directed or told or knew to where they weren't even looking in the direction of where the threat would be. If I was as an infantry platoon leader and I set up an ambush and I knew the enemy was coming from this direction, I would set my forces to look at that direction, not the opposite way. So it seems very odd to me that such a highly trained select personnel wouldn't be practicing. And these are basic security. You never have your security all looking one way. You never have your security ignoring the main egress ingress route, which was that main entrance through that very canalized area of the foyer. Main entrance, foyer, into the ballroom. The Hilton Hotel is a very old hotel, so it's not like some of the newer hotels where there's different ballrooms down the halls or different. This is the Hilton. The Washington Hilton boasts the largest ballroom without columns in it, so it's big and open. So there's only one in this hotel, and it has a direct entry point, which is where you saw the shooter running. So how they were not watching the main ingress egress, and then basically this guy gets the jump on them, and then they're returning fire. We did hear gunshots, so there was an exchange of fire either through pistol.
I'm going to play a video as well. Your audio's still not working, Anthony. But I want to play a quick video as well. Have you seen the clip? And I've asked a few guests this question. I'll ask you the same question. I know you can hear me, and we'll hear you in a second as soon as your audio works again. But there's a clip, and we'll play it for the audience, where they pull. And you guys, if you're watching the show since yesterday or last couple of days, you'll see where they pull J.D. Vance before the president. I haven't gotten a really good explanation on this. Joe Kent said he didn't have an answer to that question. I think he just said it. He's not questioning the Secret Service, their actions at that event, and I don't think they did anything wrong. I don't think there's a failure there. But if you play that one there you go, where they pull, play it again. Yeah, they pull, and you guys have seen it. They just pull J.D. Vance, and then 10 seconds later, it takes 10 seconds for them to take the president. There you go. So the Secret Service is there, and then 10 seconds later, this is okay. Let it play, guys. Don't replay it. And then you see it's been 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's the Secret Service coming in, and then they take the president away, and he trips there. Well, he says he didn't trip. He said they asked him to go on the ground. Maybe it's part of the protocol. And then he continues walking out with the Secret Service surrounding him. So my question is, why were they able? Why was JD Vance pulled out so quickly? Because if there is a threat, and they're these guys, the men in the army uniforms, I'll ask Anthony about them all. Is Anthony ready, guys? If you can bring him up. But why were they? Why did they? Oh, there you go. Hey, Anthony, did you see the clip I was just playing?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, my question, and I've asked it a lot of guests, not sure if you have an answer or a theory, and I'm not saying there's a security failure, maybe there isn't in that particular regard. Can you play that clip again while you explain it? I've got a few questions on it. If we can play it, and I'll tell you when to pause, Lisa, but if you can play that clip again. So the first question while they play the clip is, why was JD Vance, in your opinion, pulled out so quickly and took 10 seconds for Trump to be taken out, to be escorted out?
So my interpretation of this, I saw it as it was happening before, the news kind of steered away. But I also watched this clip and looking at this. So here's what I understand of having worked with the U.S. Secret Service before, working in the joint in the joint forces of the military. I've worked with the DEA. I've worked with Secret Service, and as I mentioned previously, you have when you have an incident such as this, you'd have the same protocol like at the Republican National Convention when you have the vice president and the president both present. Your immediate response team to an incident such as this through Secret Service is your Hawkeye element. That's your counter assault team. That's the guys you saw in uniforms, rifles, helmets. That's your Secret Service counter assault team. They're assigned, just like a football player would be assigned a certain route, or special teams do a certain job. You have a team that's assigned to Mogul. You have Hawkeye Mogul, excuse me. That would be assigned to the president. And then you have Hawkeye Bobcat, and that would be assigned to the vice president. So those two teams are specifically designated for the protection, extraction, and security of the principal they're assigned to. What I see as the failure in that is not necessarily in the immediate response, but is in the placement of the president. The president was sitting on this stage behind a table center to where the access to come up on stage right or the looker's left was blocked. You can see it, that it's blocked by those tables touching that where that wall of curtains are. And then on the other side by the dais where the team was able to enter. So it seems to me that upon initial response, initial reaction, that the teams, Hawkeye Mogul and Hawkeye Bobcat, were stationed there to respond. But then the Hawkeye Bobcat team was at the side where Vance was, so they were able to respond immediately. Whereas the Hawkeye Mogul team wasn't able to get up on the stage, so they had to come around. So they were behind the Hawkeye Bobcat team.
So you can see them trying to go over the tables to try to.
You see them, yeah, because on that side they were closed off. So
that 10 seconds and that 10 seconds makes a pretty big difference. That was when I first saw footage. That was the first question I had. Exactly like that. Obviously, the would-be assassin didn't make it to the president, but like every second counts in a time of war.
Just to say, in 10 seconds, a trained sniper or someone with trained tactical ability using a designated or designed sniper weapon. You probably want to have a bolt action weapon because you don't want to have a misfeed or a malfunction with an assault rifle. But a good trained sniper, amateur level, could have gotten off 3 fire, recock, fire, recock, fire, could have gotten off 3 accurate shots in 10 seconds.
If we go through, I know that every assassination attempt, depending on which side of the aisle someone is, there's always going to be theories. Oh, this was staged. This was staged. Now, it's pretty impossible to say that about the assassination attempt in Butler. Some people, I only found that out recently. Some people claiming it was a staged and the blood was not real, and he put the blood there. He popped like a little pocket of whatever dye or dyed water, whatever it is, some liquid. In this case, there's a lot of people saying it was staged because it's a lot easier to stage someone running through, getting shot at but not getting shot, him shooting someone that was wearing a bulletproof vest, no injuries whatsoever. But why? Like when I look at theories and people claiming it's staged, why would they stage such an event? It just seems like such a risky thing to do. All it takes is one person leaking that this was staged that would destroy the entire reputation of Trump. There's a lot of people, even in Trump's circle, that wouldn't mind bringing the president down. So it just feels like a pretty risky thing to do, to stage an assassination attempt like this. And the other question, and the other question, sorry, and the other question, when you mentioned, many people don't know, Manchurian candidate. So Manchurian, from what I understand, is someone that's kind of been brainwashed to run to at the behest of a special interest body of another country. So someone that was groomed to run as a candidate without that person even knowing they were groomed. That's exactly how I understand a Manchurian candidate is. So in this case, it's something like MK Ultra, where a shooter or would-be assassin was groomed to do what he did without knowing that he was part of a fabricated assassination attempt. It reminds me of a movie I saw with Mark Wahlberg, where he's a sniper who's meant to kill the president, and he thought he's meant to be there to defend the president, and then he turns out to be the person getting framed for the assassination attempt. So, not sure, has that happened before? Is there examples we could use of where the intelligence service or anyone has done this? Any governmental organization that has done something like this?
Oh, well, there's people that claim, because of the absence of information in the JFK files, that Lee Harvey Oswald was a Soviet Manchurian candidate. And another great movie is actually the movie The Manchurian Candidate. Liev Schreiber plays the candidate. Anybody, I recommend going to watch that to understand this Manchurian candidate philosophy. But the way you described it is exactly correct. So when I look at the there are people there. I've seen it all online. The people saying it was staged, it's a conspiracy, it was scripted. Look at this, look at that. Regardless of this being staged or not, or whatever comes revealed of the investigation as to who this individual was in terms of a deeper sense, other than just a teacher in California. What does stand out to me is there's so much questioning of the incident, to where the initial response from the American people, to a degree, is to question the government. It shows that there's a certain level of distrust in terms of government actions, or what the government may be hiding or telling us or not telling us. I've seen some pretty outlandish claims that people said, oh, this was Trump staged this to give justification for his ballroom. I don't believe that. We do know that he tweeted shortly afterwards that, hey, this is why we need the ballroom. I think that was an opportunistic tweet, or an opportunistic jump on that by the president. But I don't think that
a lot of people also use the example of, like, multiple big accounts tweeted the same thing. But what they don't know about X is that when one person tweets something that goes viral, it's like, oh, it's a good idea. They all copy each other. Always happens. If someone comes up with an interesting tweet, they all follow each other, and they just all tweet it together. So it doesn't immediately indicate a coordinated strategy to fake and whole assassination attempt to get a ballroom approved. Which, by the way, the ballroom, I've never really followed the whole ballroom thing, because I just found it to be pretty insignificant, and I'm following the Iran war, and I usually follow geopolitical matters rather than domestic political matters in the US. But when I looked into it now, I'm like, all right, he wants a ballroom in the White House, I think, as a place to hold events. Of course, like, it just sounds like the most logical thing to me. It's going to be a more secure. It's going to, you don't have the entire chain of command of the US government at a public hotel where anyone could stay in that hotel, and there was another event happening at the same time. That one just sounds very bizarre to me, especially now that you've told me that President Reagan was also shot there as well. Just bizarre.
Yeah, anytime you're using a venue that isn't under constant surveillance and constant control of the Secret Service, such as the White House, the West Wing, the East Wing, the Oval Office, there's always a level of elevated risk, like what we saw with the individual. He was able to check into the hotel and stay in the hotel. Individual, would not be able to walk in with guns and stay as a guest in the White House. So
exactly.
I know that we all know that did Trump send a tweet that said, oh, this is more reason to have the ballroom. We also know that today, out of the office of Randy Fine, Florida's 6th district representative to the U.S. Congress, today introduced legislation to throw out the current lawsuit that's impeding the continuation of the ballroom. So
first time I agree with Randy Fine. This guy is one of the people that pisses me off the most with his tweets about Israel and Gaza and what's happening there. Something you've covered
Yeah.
extensively. But for the first time, even if I disagree with someone's views, he posted something I agreed with. A White House ballroom, it just makes a lot of sense. A White House ball makes sense.
And there's a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding that, of course, too. But the bottom line, too, in terms of the connection between the incident Saturday night and the tweeting, or then the discussion of, this is why we need a ballroom. Do I think that was that's why this was staged? That was no, I don't think that. What I
How
do. Go ahead.
So it's gonna, but I'm downloading the Manchurian Candidate. If you see me looking down, I want to watch it. I didn't know Denzel Washington stars in that movie. I'm definitely watching that movie.
Denzel Washington,
Um,
Lee Shriver. It's a great movie. It's one of the few that a lot of people haven't seen. And not to spoil the whole plot, but it's basically a military officer, or a military non-commissioned officer who served in the Gulf War. He witnessed things that he shouldn't have witnessed. It's kind of got like an MK Ultra feel to it, where he's then manipulated, hypnotized, brainwashed, and brought under control of the CIA and made into this candidate to run for office. And it's fascinating. And so the reason I would call this assassin, this would-be assassin, the Manchurian assassin, is because do I think that this individual had views, political views, that he probably shared on social media or shared amongst social groups? Yes, I do. Do I think that this individual had the natural, organic proclivity to then secure firearms and weapons, and then planned this attempted assassination, not knowing any of the? I mean, the guy obviously didn't know the layout when he ran from wherever he probably was from his room. He came into the lobby. He staged some guns. He came from the lobby area through the foyer into this open area that connects from the foyer. You saw there's elevators there. There's a stairwell that connects then to this ballroom. He obviously didn't do any reconnaissance. So this is not his bag. This isn't what he does. I don't think this.
why don't, so just to kind of give you an idea of who he is, Alan is a 31, so age 31 from LA County. I think he was also he works at NASA or something.
He did work at NASA for a period, but he was also a school teacher.
A Caltech mechanical engineer grad with a master's in computer science. He was described by his comrade, by a colleague of his to the media, is described as someone who's, not the type of personality you'd accept to try to commit an assassination, try to hurt anybody. They were very surprised. He was very calm, kind, easygoing. He built a wheelchair brake prototype, made indie games, was a part-time tutor, teacher of the month just a few months ago, described as smart, stable, even gentle. No record, no flags, not on any watch list, barely any political footprint whatsoever. This is the opposite of the type of guy on agencies' radars. He books a room at the same hotel hosting one of the most secure civilian gatherings in the US, perhaps the world. Walks in like any other guest, same lobby, same flow, seemingly normal routine, nothing off. Blends in perfectly, except he's holding a shotgun, knives, and a handgun, I think, as well, a pistol. Moves inside the perimeter with a room, gets close to the checkpoint while the entire political and medical class is inside, and then just flips. Opens fire, hits an officer, gets taken down. By the way, in his manifesto as well, Anthony, and probably the audience knows this, I'm sure, because we talked about it earlier with Joe Kent. In his manifesto, he's sitting there making fun of the security labs. He says, P.S. Okay, now that all the sappy stuff is done, what the hell is the Secret Service doing? Sorry, got to rant a bit and drop the formal tone like I expected. Security cameras at every bend, bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors out the wazoo. What I got is nothing. No damn security, not in transport, not in the hotel, not in the event. He said maybe they're pranking me. First, do you know anything about that manifesto? Did he write it beforehand? Did he write it as he's committing the assassination attempt, as he's walking down? Did he send it to a family member, I think? Do you know anything about that manifesto?
So when I was reading the manifesto and it was published, I had the same thought you did. Did he write this ahead of time? How would he have known that? It seems to me that he was quite literally tweeting or texting or authoring this narrative manifesto as things were unfolding. He'd kind of, I think he probably did a pass through and was like, "Hey, where's all the security?" And then probably went back to the bathroom or to the other to maybe the bar lobby area and was like writing this stuff, like what's going on here. But when you look at there's an expectation there from this guy, an expectation to which he has no previous expertise, knowledge, or experience in. So there's an expectation there. And then he feels like, are they pranking me? Well, who's they? And who is they to be pranking him? The way that, to me, if I were to look at this objectively, of the facts laid out, we have an alleged shooter who nowhere in his lifetime, and this is not a teenager, this is not someone that has demonstrated mental incapacity or behavioral health issues, very intelligent, who seemingly wouldn't have the means or the necessarily the organic proclivity to do something to this nature, but he did. And then in his manifesto, he's saying, are they pranking me? If I had done something organically, not knowing what I was getting myself into, and got there and saw this, I'd be like, if I had not had experience with security, I would think to myself, okay, well, this is just normal. I'm making my observations. I wouldn't really know. But then to say they, well, who's the they he's talking about? If I'm speaking about they, that means there's an association, is that I know who they are. So I feel that this guy was probably groomed and recruited through social media, maybe through an organization that he thought was an activist or extremist organization, or maybe somebody that had access to be able to contact him, that made him feel that he was part of something bigger. I don't think that he went into this thinking that he was a lone actor. I don't think that. So when you just look at everything surrounding this guy, there's more to Alan Cole than just what we know right now. There's more to it that I think would then shed some light on really what happened. Was this orchestrated in a way? Was it? I would refrain from using staged, because staged would indicate that he's an actor. I felt that he participated in this thinking that this was real. So it's a matter of
similar to the Mark Wahlberg movie where he
exactly.
Thought, oh no,
Manchurian Candidate, and the Mark Wahlberg movie is another great example. I think it's actually called Sniper, but another great anecdote in looking at different possibilities with this, regardless of the why to either a staging or something that was in some way orchestrated. Do I think that the reason for that was for Donald Trump to justify the ballroom? No, I don't.
No.
Look at what's on the world stage right
now. Yeah, exactly. Others, the people that believe it's staged, are saying it's just to distract away from the war in Iran. My team posted a meme. I wish I had it. They posted a meme of the guy, the would-be assassin on the floor under arrest, and then Lindsey Graham on him, kind of laying on him, holding him down, and saying, "Mr. President, I got him. Can we go back to bombing Iran?" Kind of making fun of the concept of this is all being staged to distract us from Iran. And Lindsey Graham is pissed off about it. But yeah, man, look, I appreciate you looking into it. I appreciate you coming on the show. As more developments happen, I'd love to have you back. And always good to speak to you. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, and see you soon.
You too, my friend. All right, everyone. I'm going to go live now with Glenn Deason to talk about Iran, which is what I enjoy covering the most, which me and Anthony were talking about yesterday in terms of the assassination attempt. Now, I've done a few interviews on this today. I did Anthony and Joe Kent. Yesterday, I did two other guests. I did Matt Taggio, our regular, and one more guest on the matter, or two more guests, including Larry Johnson. Look, I know, in the comments, you're not going to like this. A lot of you believe it is staged. I really don't think it's staged. I just don't, based on everything we're seeing. But I'm also, I've learned to question everything, especially after the Butler assassination attempt. For me, it was a wake-up call to see how that investigation was conducted and everything, all the bizarre things that we still don't have answers to. For me, since then, I just don't discount anything. That's where I stand on this. But as you know, I'll always change my mind as more information comes out. I'll see you again in a few minutes to discuss Iran, because there, I'm usually the optimistic person. It's not looking good. So me and Glenn will, he's not the optimistic person. We'll have a discussion now. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Bye.